Jack, I'm begging you, please don't do this. I know my life is ruined, but please don't ruin his life as well. It meant nothing. We were just having fun. We never wanted to make anything serious out of it. Please, it's gonna hurt so many people. But Jack didn't care anymore. He couldn't care anymore. Everything he believed in, everything he hoped for, it was all gone. He couldn't just let it go. It all started about a month ago. Jack was walking down the supermarket aisle. His thoughts were a mess. Just half an hour ago, he had received an anonymous email. It didn't have any text, only 2 pictures. The pictures were of his wife, Julia, and some man he had never seen before. One picture was taken at a bar and had them holding hands and talking intimately, and the other was of them walking out of a hotel room together. Jack was trying to find a plausible explanation for what he saw in the pictures. He even tried to convince himself that they could have been photoshopped. But Jack was a smart man. He was also an intuitive man. And that was exactly why he had long noticed that something was off with Julia, and he couldn't help but think that he finally knew what it was. Those were little things, but they still made him wonder. She stopped leaving her phone unattended. She often stepped out of the room to take a call, and she started spending more time with her girlfriends. But then she never had much to tell about what they did together. Even when he specifically asked her where they went and what they did, or even what they talked about, all she could ever give him were some vague answers. Julia was never the kind of person to give her husband a play-by-play of her outings, but those responses were too bland even for her. Jack loved his wife, and he wanted to believe her and trust her and build a future together. They'd been talking about having kids for a while, but recently, even those talks had stopped, which was yet another thing that made Jack feel that something was going on. He tried bringing up the subject, but Julia simply gave him random excuses for her desire to postpone taking this step. She often said that she was swamped with work, or that she wanted to get a promotion first, or that they still had time, and she didn't see a reason to rush. Jack had no choice but to accept the fact that they would have to wait a little longer before having a baby. He wasn't too happy about it, but he could accept it because he realized how many adjustments Julia's life would require if she were to get pregnant. But all that understanding and compassion Jack felt evaporated on the day he got that anonymous email. First, he wanted to confront Julia right away, but then he realized that he needed to get more information first, so his wife wouldn't have any room to lie her way out of it. Jack thought about hiring a private investigator, but the thought of some random man following his wife made him feel uneasy. So Jack decided to turn to his best friend Richard for help. Richard used to work with the police for a bit, so Jack was sure he could handle the task. He told Richard everything and asked him to follow Julia around and see if he could get some pictures or learn the name of the man she was seeing. Richard didn't exactly feel comfortable with his friend's request, but he couldn't say no either. He knew that Jack was devastated and that it wasn't an easy decision for him to make, so he agreed to help. It only took Richard a week to learn that Julia indeed was having an affair. The man in the pictures was her coworker, Stan. He was an older man, also married, and he had a son in college. Richard got all the proof Jack could need. He had pictures and receipts, and he even used his connections to get Julia's call history. He also followed Stan home to get his address. Now it was time for Jack to decide what he wanted to do next. Divorce was a given, but that wasn't enough for Jack. He needed to make Julia pay for what she did, to make her feel just as betrayed and hurt as he was. But he also needed to come up with a plan soon, as Julia could already sense that something was going on with Jack, since no matter how hard he tried to play it cool, he couldn't just treat her the same as before. Jack thought long and harder and finally realized that he simply wanted justice. His family was ruined, so he was going to ruin Stan's family as well. Only the thought of his kid made him ponder if it was the right decision, but since his son was already in college, Jack felt that he could handle learning the truth about his father. As for Julia, Jack thought that sharing the details of her affair with her friends and family and divorcing her would be punishment enough. Now all Jack needed to do was set his plan in motion. First, he hired a lawyer to file the lawsuit. Then, his plan was to make a post on social media detailing Julia's affair, attaching pictures, and tagging everyone involved in it. Thus, Jack planned to notify Stan's wife and make sure as many people learned about it as possible. However, Jack was so engrossed in writing his post that he didn't realize that Julia had come home and was standing behind him. "Oh God, Jack, no, please don't do this." She started pleading immediately. "Hi, honey. I didn't hear you come in. How was your day?" Jack asked sarcastically. "Jack, I'm begging you, please don't do this. I know my life is ruined, but please don't ruin his life as well." It meant nothing. We were just having fun. We never wanted to make anything serious out of it. Please, it's gonna hurt so many people. Well, isn't this something you should have thought about before having an affair? How dare you worry about him in front of me? What about me? Hey? Did you worry about ruining my life? Jack was furious. "I don't know what to say. I love you. Please, I really do love you. I don't know why I did it. It was something different. I don't know. I made a mistake. Please, we can work through this." Julia was devastated, tears streaming down her face. "No, we're done. I already filed for divorce. Get your crap out of my home. I don't want to see your face here ever again," Jack said as he pressed the post button. Julia let out a muffled cry, but there wasn't anything she could do anymore. She turned around and went to pack her bags. Meanwhile, Jack decided to also send his post directly to Stan's wife's inbox, just to make sure she saw it. She was the only person in this story, besides the kid, that Jack actually felt sorry for. She didn't do anything wrong, but her world was about to shatter. Still, Jack believed that she deserved to know the truth. After all, despite how hurt he felt, he still preferred it over being taken for a fool. The only thing Jack was grateful for was the fact that he got to know the truth before he had a baby with Julia. At least this way he could forget all about her and never see her again. He poured himself a drink, toasting to a new beginning in his life. Sure, he was sad, but he was also hopeful and confident that his life could only be better without an unfaithful partner in it.